Okay, friends, subscribers, and all the people out there on YouTube. Let's talk about giants. Well, starting with many that, okay, giants exist in the past and they exist in the future and they have existed today because giants live among us today. Giants lived among us in the past. The Bible says they did. And throughout history, there is numerous, and I mean numerous, talk of giants. Yes, there are some fake photos out there, some of which I have included in this video, mainly to the fact that people have the right to see what's real and what's not. Yes, that is a real picture. That's a real picture of a giant. Now, giants have been said to be from 7 feet tall to higher. They live amongst us, and yes, they have lived in the past. Now, that's not a fake that was just out of shot. Now, that mound there is where they found giants in America. They built a theme park around it. Now, throughout history, they've found evidence of giants, and they've put the proof out there in the papers. Some of these have the dates up there, which you can look. Now, by the way, guys, these are arrowheads. Okay, arrowheads for a giant. Now, the thing is, you've got to look at what evidence is out there. Now, yes, I know there was a competition out there for a Photoshop competition. This is not one of those pictures. This is from a real article. You saw prior shots to that. Now, the thing is, folks, you've got to look at images for what they really are. Now, someone said to me, oh, there's an elk bone sticking in the side of him. Well, there's pictures of giant elk, bigger than most probably the largest skeletons we've seen. There's actual skeletons of them. Skeletons can be small. Skeletons can be large. Skeletons can be treated as if they were vampiristic. Now, that's how they treated vampires. Now, there's a picture of a giant back in the most probably period of the 1800s or 1700s, whatever they call it, 1900s. Now, that's a mermaid. Giants, again. Guess what? Now, that's not Photoshop. They didn't have Photoshop. This is to the little trolls out there that says giants did not exist. Well, guess what? Giants existed. Now, and giants existed for real. And the thing is, you've got to look at press releases back from in the 1800s, 1700s, whatever. The thing is, there's so much evidence out there that says, now, that's a shopped image because that's just a guy who's been used as in the thing. Now, the thing is, it's been shopped, but the giants were actually real. Now, here they say they don't even know what races these giants were. Depictions of giants right throughout Egypt, throughout other countries, and you can see where you got small people. Now, that, by the way, is a tusk sitting beside the head, an elephant tusk. That's a queen looking at the picture, at a skeleton of a giant. Now, there are plenty of giant skeletons around. They have been in the press. That skeleton head is 50 centimetres in height. It's massive. This is a skeleton that was uncovered in the Big Indian tsunami, and it's a massive skeleton. They believe that one not even to be of a human in origin. It's bipedal, but this one is a sculpture, by the way, folks, of the so-called behemoth giant that the Indians worshipped. And the thing is, it's these images out there of giants, and they're real. They are fake. I think that was a fake. Now, that's a real picture of a real giant, trolls. Okay, get it? See, look. That's a real picture before Photoshop was even invented. So it's got to be real. And that's just a fossilized bone, and that's supposed to be of the reptilian giant that they found. Now, here it says Cro-Magnon man was 7 feet tall, so hence giants were around in prehistoric days. So you've just got to look at what's out there. Now, there's a picture of David holding up Goliath's head. Oh, yeah, Bible, giants. And there were giants in the land in those days, the Bible stated. Now, there is so much depiction of giants throughout history. There is talk of giants. Now, some of these elongated cone head giants were said to be 12 foot tall. I think that's of that sculpture that they found. Someone that made a sculpture tried to say it was a giant. Okay, these are historical drawings of giants. Okay, historical giants. Okay, now here's a good one. That's a mummified finger of a giant. It's massive. So yeah, trolls, giants were around, and like just because there was a competition to cover up the fact that giants existed because the Anunnaki are coming back doesn't mean that everything that where giants have been said to be doesn't mean that everything is a Photoshop competition. And I'm getting sick of seeing so many comments on all the giant sites that I've decided to make this video because I'm absolutely sick of the trolls. That is the mound where they found the giant skeletons. They found a giant head amongst normal skeleton heads. And that's the thing. There's giants buried together. There's giants, that's a giant in China. Again, there's that sculpture being put together of that so-called Indian giant god, which they now believe is the one they found on the beach. I can't think of what their name was. Now, that's one of the fake pictures. Yes, look at it. Yes, that can be easily seen. It's a fake. But when you look at other pictures, just because you think it's a fake doesn't mean it is actually fake, because guess what, trolls? The videos out there and the images out there don't contain everything. They don't contain everything of all the articles and everything like that. Now, it's June 16. This was back in 18-something. And now, look at that. There's rib bones from a human up in the eye sockets of the giant. Okay, explain that one, trolls. Now, some of these heads were like 40 to 50 centimetres in height, which is far larger. So you'd be estimating about a 12-foot giant. And the thing is, it's sort of right throughout the earlier days, before they started covering up the fact of giants. Now, this is a group of Victorian people recovering a giant skull, and again, an 8-foot person. Now, we quite often see it. Now, in the old days, they were called giants. Okay, so trolls, giants existed. Okay, that's a news article of a giant. You'll actually see a picture of the actual giant. Now, that was a skull. Now, that skull actually has gone missing. They haven't been able to find it for some years, and there is a search for that skull. And the thing is, it was found underneath a building. Now, if you notice, they circled the teeth on that because they've noticed something with the giants. The teeth structure is different. They have less molars than what a standard-sized human has. I don't know whether that's something to do with the growth patterns or whatever, but they're saying, now that's in New York Times. I think that's May 4th, 1800 and something. You can go and get the documents. Sorry, but I can't read the dates because the screen is too small. But this shows you that over the years, they have been finding giants. Now, that skull is from, they said, basing it on the size of the skull, that giant was over 12 foot. Now, that's a fake picture, folks. Now, that one's easy to pick, but it's quite a good job, actually. But now this one, again, I think this one was about a 12 to 13-foot one. Now, throughout history, there's depictions of giants. Why? Because giants bloody existed. That one, yes, I think that one's a fake. You can see because the way it's blended in. Okay? Now, no matter what, there's always fakes. Now, that's a real guy standing next to. Now, there's the photo of the giant and the people standing next to the giant. Okay? And here, guess what? That's a real-life giant. In our time, our grandfather's time, maybe, he was over 12 foot high. You see him, Ripley's, believe it or not, a mock-up of him. And the thing is, you have to look at evidence, folks. Okay? If there's giants that exist today in history, they must have existed too. There's depictions of them. Okay, look at the size of that man being dragged along by giants. Now, that would go similar to that chap that we just saw that lived in our grandfather's days. It's about the same sort of height differential. Okay, here's one that's a little bit bigger. Apparently, they found them up to 36 feet back in the times when there was a chart done, but since then, they've been finding them a much larger ratio. 38 metres, I think, so far the tallest man is. There's depictions of giants eating humans, and most probably they might have found a couple or whatever, and they're a bit scared that we're going to find out about it. Or maybe there's talk of alien races like landing in Russia, 9-foot aliens landing in Russia, and they're getting scared that they're coming back. Now, this was quite a large structure placed over the top of this giant's grave. This one, a lot of people are saying, is part of the fake thing. When that was properly excavated, it was found to have the revolver in their hands. Now, who says that a revolver was not invented way back then? The technology may have been invented a long, long time ago when they may have discovered earlier versions of it. And someone said to me, oh, it can't be that big. Well, guess what? A revolver can be that big. They've made a friggin' rifle, a working rifle, bigger than a truck. So if they can do that, they can basically, revolvers could have been that large back then. And as I said, there's numerous article after article. Now, this is an ancient Chinese drawing of a giant. Oh, Japanese, sorry. Now, as I said, I think this one is fake. Yes, I do believe this one is a fake image. Now, this is a chart published by scientists. Okay? So if scientists publish a chart, it's real, trolls. It's real. And I'm sorry, but this video is mainly for the trolls because I just got sick of seeing all their comments on other people's things on my own channel. And the thing is, that sort of they've got to realise that giants existed, whether they like it or not, and they want to admit that. I think trolls these days are either government officials trying to cover up the truth, or those narrow-minded half-wits. And I've got to call them half-wits because they must be half-witted if they think that we are the only intelligent life within the universe. And because of the simple fact that there is so much out there now, this is one of the ones that I think may have been faked or may have been covered up to look like a fake. I don't know. All right? So, but the thing is, you've got to look at what's out there, folks. Now, this was long before Photoshop. So it's not Photoshop, folks. It was a real image. And there's too many skeletons out there that are proving that giants existed. Conehead shapes. Yes, some people tried to mould their skulls to look like them, but you can see there's a definite shape difference between the moulded ones and the real conehead ones. You've only got to look at the teeth structure. The amount of teeth they have is different. They have less teeth. There you go, March 5, 1894. Now, those people in New York. Okay, here is of a horned beast. Okay, a demon, most probably. Most probably some creature that just had horns and was called a demon, or it could have been a demon. We don't know because we weren't there. We've got evidence that it existed. Okay, now, to me, when evidence is presented, to me, it says, okay, it was real. Now, if it's sitting in a museum and it's a skull and has fibrous tissue, it's real. That is a real human beside a real giant. Okay? They existed, folks. Look how large that skull is. Normally a skull fits into one hand. That's two hands. Yes, I think that one's a fake. I'm sorry, but yeah, that one I think is a fake. Yeah, it's just a bit obvious. But over time, yes, fakes get made. Now, that one's not a fake. That one's a real ruler sitting next to a giant's head, most probably about an 8-foot to 10-foot giant. So if we've got 8-foot and 10-foot giants and we've got scientists that have found skeletons and they've published a document and a chart where they've said they've found this one, that one, that one, why can't we find things like this? Okay, that's a mermaid. That's one of the mermaid skeletons. There's another one. This was, I think this was in the Indian cave where they found the red-headed beast. Now, also, not only giants, look how small some of those skulls are sitting up on there. So, there's not just large people, there were small people. There were, like we call them, these might have been what we call elves. But we would have called these giants for sure. But the smaller ones, they might have been the elves. Now, there's different names for different things back in the past. These ones were apparently 8 foot tall. Okay, 8 foot to us, we call them basketball players. Now, here we have an Egyptian queen. Now we have a giant next to some giant apes and everything. So, yeah, they're large. Now, they put a cone head on a cat skeleton, trying to say that this is a cat thing in a museum, cross hybrid. Yeah, I think it's to cover up the fact of the cone heads. Again, the giant next to it. This was so-called the reptilian giant that we saw the pictures of earlier. I don't know what that thing on the shoulder blade is. I've been trying to work that one out. Now, I think there's actually 3 in that one, but now this is again before Photoshop. Look at the size of the people beside the thing. Now the thing is, that's just a museum mock-up. Again, another giant, a large giant. Again, another giant, or is it? I think that one's a fake. Look at the eye sockets. It's missing the eye sockets. So it's pretty easy to tell the fakes. You just have to look. Okay, that's a real one. That's in a museum laid out. Okay, it's laid out in a museum. Why don't we see them? Because they're trying to cover up the thing. They're trying to say that mankind is the only ones that have been here. Okay, there's too much evidence. Now, there's the giant skull. Look at all the other little skulls up in the background. Okay? It's a giant skull amongst normal skulls. Again, before Photoshop, people. Long before Photoshop. Now, that's of a burial mound found near Stonehenge, where they found, guess what? Giant skulls and giant bones. That's the size of a normal human head. That's the size of a giant skull. Now, the thing is, you've got to look at what evidence is available, people. If you don't look at the evidence, now that's that one where they built the theme park around. Now, okay, there's so much evidence out there, folks, you've just got to look. And this is apparently where they found a giant skull, and they found a whole heap. This is one of the ones where they say that we, so-calledly, were eaten by the giants. We most probably were. We would have been a good food source for them. It's a bit scary, but yeah, possible. Now, you've got to look at what is real, what is not real. Okay, now here's a giant underwater. Look at the size of him compared to the scuba diver. I'm still trying to work out whether that's just bones or whether it's fossils. There was no documentation on that photo, I'm sorry. Again, giant skulls. New York the New Age thing. It's got dates, so you can go up and actually look at these articles. And if you go out and do research now, you're most probably seeing images where you haven't seen them before because no one else has done as much research as I have. I've gone out and got the images. Now, that's a real giant, modern-day giant in Afghanistan. Still alive most probably today if he hasn't been killed by Obama. Giants in Indian giants, American Indian giants. The thing is, they exist today, so they must have existed in the past. Okay? The ones we have today may not have been as big as the ones of the past, but they existed. So all you little trolls out there, look at the type of equipment they had. Okay? There were giants out there. So bloody what? They're not alive. Well, not all of them are alive today, but they existed. That's all that matters.